People who went through a lot in childhood don't just carry memories, they carry reflexes, automatic reactions, silent rules about how the world works that were written into them long before they had words for what was happening. And the strange part is, these patterns don't announce themselves later in life. They don't show up as clear flashbacks or dramatic breakdowns. They show up quietly in how tense you feel when plans change, in why rest makes you uneasy, in why a compliment feels suspicious instead of comforting. When a child grows up with repeated stress, being ignored, emotionally unsafe, hurt, living in chaos, or simply never having someone reliable to turn to, their brain adapts. Not emotionally, biologically. Researchers call this toxic stress, and it's important to understand the difference. Normal stress in small doses actually helps children grow stronger. It teaches resilience. Toxic stress is different. It's when the stress response turns on and never gets properly shut off. Imagine. It's an alarm system that keeps blaring day and night even when there's no fire. That's what happens inside a child's nervous system. Stress hormones like cortisol flood the body over and over again, without a safe adult to help calm things down. Research from Harvard and other neuroscience institutions shows that this prolonged stress literally changes how a child's brain develops, especially the areas responsible for emotional regulation, impulse control, and decision-making. This isn't just about feelings or personality. Actual brain structures grow differently. But here's the heartbreaking part. The child doesn't know any of this. They don't know their brain is adapting. They just know the world feels unpredictable, unsafe. And so they do what every human brain is wired to do. They adapt in whatever way. Increases survival. Some children become hyper-aware. They scan rooms the moment they walk in. They read faces, tones, pauses. They learn to sense danger before it fully appears. Others become peacekeepers. They develop an uncanny ability to detect tension and smooth it over before things explode. Some kids go quiet. They shrink themselves. They learn that being invisible reduces risk. Many learn that keeping other people happy keeps them safe. So they get incredibly good at understanding others' needs while slowly losing touch with their own. And it's important to say this clearly for a child with no power. No escape, no control. These strategies are intelligent. They work. They reduce harm. They help the child survive. The problem is that survival strategies don't automatically turn off, just because you grew up. What protected you as a child often becomes the source of your pain as an adult. Hypervigilance turns into anxiety that never fully rests. Peacekeeping becomes chronic people-pleasing and emotional exhaustion. Disappearing turns into numbness, dissociation, or not knowing who you really are. Your nervous system keeps operating as if danger is always nearby. Even when your adult life is relatively safe, this isn't about blaming parents or assigning fault. It's about understanding patterns that otherwise feel confusing and deeply personal, and then there's shame. Shame is often the most damaging and least visible outcome of a difficult childhood. When you're young, your brain isn't capable of understanding that adults are responsible for their behavior. Children are egocentric by design. They assume everything is about them. So when bad things happen repeatedly, the child's brain reaches a devastating conclusion. It must be me. Not I did something wrong, but I am wrong. A difference matters. Guilt says you made a mistake and can learn. Shame says you are the mistake. And shame embeds itself into identity. It becomes the lens through which you see yourself. If things go wrong, it feels like confirmation. If things go right, it feels temporary or undeserved. Large-scale studies on adverse childhood experiences, known as ACEs, make these patterns impossible to ignore. One of the most well-known studies followed over 17,000 people and found clear links between childhood adversity and adult outcomes. The more adversity someone experienced, the higher their risk for depression, anxiety, addiction, relationship struggles. financial instability, and even chronic physical illness decades later. But this research isn't destiny. It's context. It doesn't say your life is already decided. It explains why certain things feel harder, why your nervous system reacts the way it does, why effort alone doesn't always fix it. The brain is plastic. It can form new pathways throughout life. But rewiring a system that learns survival early takes time, attention, and often professional support. What makes all of this tricky is that it rarely looks dramatic. It shows up on ordinary days. It's the jolt of panic when someone texts, "We need to talk." It's how a small mistake at work feels catastrophic. It's the discomfort you feel when things are calm, like you're waiting for something bad to happen. It's how rest feels unsafe instead of restorative. How praise slides off, but criticism sticks for days. How you replay conversations in your head, searching for what you did wrong, even when no one else seems upset. From the outside, these reactions can look confusing, even to you. But they make sense when you remember that your nervous system learned early that small cues could lead to big consequences. Adult life rarely gives clear danger signals, so your body fills in the blanks. Silence feels threatening. Uncertainty feels unsafe. Mild conflict feels like danger. Realizing this can be unsettling. But it can also be relieving, because it means you're not broken. Your system learned something once. It hasn't updated yet. Many adults who had difficult childhoods unconsciously recreate what feels familiar. They may find themselves drawn to chaotic relationships because chaos feels normal. Predictability, on the other hand, feels suspicious. Others swing in the opposite direction, becoming rigid and controlling, needing certainty because unpredictability still feels dangerous. Then there are emotional flashbacks. These are especially confusing because they don't come with memories. You're suddenly flooded with feelings, fear, shame, powerlessness, without knowing why. There's no clear trigger, just an overwhelming sense that something is wrong. And because the mind hates uncertainty, you start searching your present life for explanations. Sometimes inventing problems just to match the intensity of the emotion. Healing from this isn't linear, and it isn't quick. It means learning to recognize old survival patterns without shaming yourself for them. Understanding where they came from, respecting the role they once played, and then slowly choosing differently. It means teaching your nervous system that safety can be real, that people can be consistent, that rest doesn't equal danger, that your needs matter, not because you earn them, but because you exist. The child who lived through all of that didn't fail. They adapted. They survived situations no child should have to navigate, and that took strength. But that child shouldn't have to keep doing the job forever. At some point, the adult you became gets to take over, to provide the safety that was missing, to set boundaries, to rest, to update the system. And doing that work, as painful and slow as it can be, may be some of the hardest and most meaningful work you ever do. If this resonated with you, consider subscribing. And if you want to support these deep psychological deep dives, becoming a channel member truly helps. Thank you for being here.